third time is a charm. You just got to get up.
Wonderful live original music. Steve is also our Kundalini yoga teacher. And it happens to be that we're doing Kundalini Yoga on Tuesdays, the 4th Tuesday of the month. That's this Tuesday at 6:30 on Zoom, which is really fun because you can do it at home, like naked if you want to. And Steve teaches every month, so maybe he'll share a little bit about that. And my name is Frankie Timmers, and I'm with Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. If you're online, and I noticed a glitch. So I don't know if we're on Facebook, but we're definitely on YouTube. It's been an interesting journey, this IT stuff, but we're making it happen. And I want to also let you know that today we have John Herron, religious science practitioner at Center for Spiritual Living Princeton. And if anybody's here for the first time in person, we're so glad you're here. You get to pick a free book from our bookshelf. And the greatest blessing today is that we have a social hour. And that is done by Camille and Hannah Grodkowski. So we have some delicious snacks back there, so thank you. So the theme for the year is Living Out Loud. And it's almost August. Isn't that amazing? But we have one more Sunday in July next week when Laurie Carlson will be speaking. I will be away on vacation. And Gail Belluardo will be assisting her. And you know, Laurie always has a lot to say that's deeply wise and rich and fun and glorious. So I'm happy she said yes. But the topic today is judging by appearance, ? And so we're exploring this idea of judgment, right? Because sometimes we judge ourselves for judging, or we judge other people for judging, which means that there's layers that can be peeled away, that we can explore, that we can get more curious about. And then the invitation is always, as a student on the spiritual path, to arrive at a greater idea, a greater truth that reflects the ancient wisdom principles that are in the Science of Mind teaching. So anybody can take a look at our website, check us out on Facebook, check us out on YouTube, check us out on Meetup, on Twitter, Instagram, all those places, and let us know if you have any questions or curiosities. We are also now planning a few next events at the end of the month. On Saturday the 26th, Michael is doing a meditation workshop called Chakra 3D. And Gail Belluardo does the Healing Circle every first Friday of the month, so that's coming up soon. And then we have the Brookside Wellness Fair on September 30th, which is a wonderful event that we're doing in this entire building. So if anybody wants to volunteer for that, let us know. So let's do our Namaste practice, which is, Namaste is the Sanskrit word for a really long sentence, which is the divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. So put your hands together and just bow to somebody and say Namaste. And let's do an opening treatment, our word for affirmative prayer. So right here, right now, we open our mind and our heart to the experience at hand, knowing that we are individual expressions of the divine, whether we call this God, Buddha, Allah, Spirit, Mother Nature, the universe, or life itself. Does not really matter, as long as we use a name that makes us feel a connection to something greater than we are. And so today we allow that connection to revel by means of our individual, unique, authentic expression. And we trust that the unfolding of life itself is the invitation to not only remember this connection, but to live it. And we know that sometimes we forget, and then life presents us with experiences to remember who and what we really are, whose we really are, and what's available to us. then we rely upon the wisdom within, the strength within, the resilience within, but most of all, the truth within. So today we're grateful for this remembrance, and we allow it to be a blessing, not just today, but forevermore. And so it is. So, has anybody here ever been judged? Anybody here ever been judged? So I'm thinking not just when somebody looks at us funny and we think that they're judging us, but they might just have gas. But I mean like really judged that you know because they said it out loud. Right? Anybody? Yes, most of us, right? What have you been judged for?
That I wasn't honest.
Huh?
That I wasn't honest.
I wasn't honest.
Behavior.
Behavior?
Choices.
Choices?
My opinion.
Your opinion?
Overdoing it.
Overdoing it? Maybe the way you look? Maybe the shape of your body? Maybe where you come from? Right? So we've all at some point or another felt judged. And it feels really great, right? It doesn't feel so good. Well, it doesn't feel so good because it's bumping into something inside of us that already doesn't feel good. And so it's something that gets awakened. It's something that we can work with. So I know the answer in this room is going to be no, but just for the fun of it, have you ever judged anyone?
Yeah.
Right? We judge people. I was in the grocery store the other day, and somebody walked in, and I was like, what the hell? They had pink hair, it was a male, but I thought at first was female, was wearing a weird t-shirt and these kind of weird pants and had this cute little pink purse on their arm, and I stood there in judgment. But I paused, because we're on a spiritual path, we know what to do, because in that moment you check in and say, well, that doesn't feel very good, I'm judging this person for the way they look. So I kind of stood, and it was like quick because it's now become a habit. And then I realized, what a brave young man who dared to dye his hair this long, bright neon pink, and walk around with a little pink purse through the store. Like this, really, that's how he walked. I'm like, how brave. Here is somebody who dares to be unique and not hopefully give a hoot who judges him, right? And so we go through life noticing that we have a tendency as part of our human experience not just to judge, but to be judged. And how do we work with that? Isn't it interesting that this wisdom from the Bible that is more than 2,000 years old talks about not judging? There's like about 3-4 dozen places in the Bible that talks about how we shouldn't judge. Here is one from Matthew, judge not lest ye be judged. That one, right? That's usually where we stop. It goes on and says, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. My favorite one that always makes me laugh, I shared it this morning, it made me laugh again, is the one that says, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in someone else's eye, speck of sawdust in someone else's eye, and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? It makes me laugh, right? I see this little dust, but I won't look at the plank in my own eye. So there is a little humor in the Bible, right? And so what I've learned is that this idea of judgment is very shallow. It kind of tells us that we're being very shallow, that we're just looking at the surface, that we only see what we see based on our own opinions, expectations, thoughts, ideas, beliefs, And so that we only see a very small part. This young man, I saw his hair and his purse. I don't know that young man. He could be, I don't know, Jesus incarnate or Buddha incarnate. And so the invitation then is to notice what the judgment reveals to us. Of course, we probably cannot do that 24/7 because it's a full-time job, but we can notice the judgments that feel a little intense. And so we notice then maybe what our expectations are. Or maybe we notice some of our conditioning. Or maybe we notice some needs that we have that we didn't realize. Or maybe we notice some beliefs that we didn't even realize we had, or maybe some fears. So our judgment can reveal so much about ourselves that can be a really powerful tool for healing. I think that the idea of judgment is an awesome spiritual tool. I remember when I first met Norman, my beloved of 17 years, 17 and a half as of yesterday. I had dreamed of a man who was sophisticated and worldly and had traveled and had understanding about foods and had lived a well life, and here I met a guy whose most exotic food he ever eaten was Chinese. He'd been out of New Jersey maybe once to drive to Georgia, and he had never been in a museum. And so I am so grateful that I looked beyond the exterior and looked inside his heart, because I very quickly saw a heart made of gold. Now, even after 17 and a half years, I still have to work with my own judgment. Every day, almost, there is something that might challenge me. And I have learned to embrace it as a gift, because I know that what is most real is the love, is his golden heart. And so the idea then is to notice what we notice when we judge and to practice acceptance. To be curious. Oh, how interesting. I just judged that person by the way they look or what they said. Let me see if there is more. Let me see if I can find out more about them. Let me maybe interact, or maybe ask a question, or maybe be extra friendly, and notice if there is more. So it's this idea of yes, 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 yes. I have been that. Yes, I have been judgmental. Yes, sometimes I am judgmental. Yes, I'm going to be judged. So what? To arrive at a place to not care whether someone judges us or not is a very powerful place, because it really frees us. And so the invitation is to have a deeper understanding, more clarity, more of a connection, celebrating our differences, and welcoming the experience instead of resisting it. Because if we resist it, we judge ourselves for our own judgment, and it does more harm to us than we even imagine. So the invitation then is to make our judgment more conscious. Because I think that a large percentage of our judging is not even conscious. We kind of go through the day and get pissed off when somebody cuts us off in traffic, but we don't think it through, right? Which is okay, because it's the way the mind protects us. Or maybe we see somebody dressed in a certain way and we judge them, we just don't even give it any thought. So the idea is to make it more conscious and to realize it has more to do with us than anyone else, and it affects us more than anyone else. And so, as people on the spiritual path, we take those noticings, those feelings, those judgments of ourselves or another, whether it's judging or being judged, we take them as a spiritual practice. We invite them in as a way to make a deeper commitment to being love, or to being more compassionate, or to being more accepting, or to being more understanding. Ernest Holmes says, we are a law unto ourselves, which is the same thing as saying what Matthew said. Judge or lest ye be judged, right? It's the same thing. It's this idea that as within, so without. What I think becomes my experience. And we know that it's not just as within, so without, that we're always projecting who we are onto the world, but it's also as without, so within, that what we see out there is a reflection of our own consciousness. So our practice then is to heal, to be a healing presence, and to remember that our practice of love and compassion and acceptance and understanding is our service to the world, is our service to humanity. And so it becomes a gift. The journal that we're using, that some of you have and still bring, I love that you still bring it, on week 3, page 76, there's a quote by Dr. Tom Johnson, who was one of the spiritual directors in Morristown, Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. He was responsible for the purchase of the building that we were in before we moved here. He says, we must practice the principle of living the presence of God. In so doing, we do not argue, criticize, or condemn someone else, or even our own self. It's a powerful phrase, right? Because it's the invitation to always arrive at the truth with a capital T. And what is the truth with a capital T? That Spirit, God, the universal intelligence, infinite love is all there is. And it's using us to show up in the world with more grace, more acceptance, more love, more harmony, more peace. The truth is a living thing. Sometimes we think it's somewhere out there, far away, and we'll never get there. But it's a living thing every moment, with every breath and every heartbeat. And if we are tuned into that, we show up differently in the world. We notice the judgment and what that's really about. And we're able to release it in the moment. I often have told a story of my neighbor when I was living in Morristown. When I moved in, he came screaming at me because my radio was so loud when I was unpacking. And we kind of hated each other for several years. Well, not literally. But we didn't like each other until one day I decided I needed to make peace with that. And I saw him with his children, and I said to him, your kids are so cute. They look so smart. And he melted. He literally melted. I saw his whole body change, and he smiled. And ever since then, we were friendly with each other and greeted one another. And I had to forgive myself for holding on to this belief that I nicknamed him the terrible man. And that's a powerful practice, right? So you may think of somebody in your world that you judged harshly or heavily, whether it's somebody famous or somebody in politics or a neighbor or a friend or a family member. Use that as a way to cultivate greater compassion. And so it's a living thing. We live truth with a capital T until it reveals itself, until we can see a little bit deeper, until our own consciousness expands, until we feel a little bit freer, until we experience a shift in consciousness and realize that our well-being really is reliant upon how we use our consciousness, our mind. And when the stuff gets really hard because you've experienced heartache or betrayal or loss, that's when we slow down our thinking and make space to feel what we feel. Because there is such a thing as an aspect of judgment that is discernment. Discernment is really important. I mean, I can judge someone on the highway and decide to chase them down and hit their car. But if I use my discernment, I would never do that, right? So discernment is really thinking it through, giving it space, allowing it to just be there, allowing ourselves to feel what we feel, to take care of ourselves, to reach out for support, to connect, to call a practitioner, to listen more deeply to that inner voice of wisdom. That's when we practice and do our best. That's when we pray. In our case, we call it spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, or reach out, of course, to a practitioner. That's when we have compassion for ourselves and our fellow human beings. That's when we say, I'm willing to see the truth. I'm willing to have it revealed to me. So I always believe that I get what I need. So this morning I was reading my emails, and one of my emails had a beautiful quote, a beautiful saying by somebody named Larry Yang, who happens to be a meditation teacher. I never heard of him. So I want to use this as a little affirmation before we have Steve doing some music for us. So I'll read it first, and then I will do a call and response. May I be loving, open, and aware in this moment. If I cannot be loving, open, and aware in this moment, may I be kind. If I cannot be kind, may I be non-judgmental. If I cannot be non-judgmental, may I not cause harm. If I cannot cause harm, may I cause the least harm. Isn't that beautiful? So let's repeat. May I be loving, open, and aware in this moment.
May I be loving, open, and aware in this moment.
If I cannot be loving, open, and aware in this moment, may I be kind.
If I cannot be loving, open, and aware in this moment, may I be kind.
If I cannot be kind,
If I cannot be kind,
may I be non-judgmental.
may I be non-judgmental.
If I cannot be non-judgmental,
If I cannot be non-judgmental,
may I not cause harm.
may I not cause harm.
If I cannot not cause harm,
If I cannot not cause harm,
may I cause the least harm.
may I cause the least harm.
And so it is.
So it is.
So, speaking of thinking about things differently and judgment, this song is a little bit about time, how we kind of judge our own time here while we're here, and how it seems very finite to us. So this is a playful song just about how sometimes we can be taken back by looking at time differently. Time doesn't last. The past, well, it stays in the past. This time, oh, this time, it will last. In my time machine, I will reclaim my dream. I jumped on a tough young buck for 17. But I still have a few more from the sun that could dawn. Gazing through her green eyes once again. 19 years old and I still have all my great soul. Still alive and I'm ready to fight the world. 19 years old and I still have all my great soul. Still alive and I'm ready to fight the world. How is it that these scents they take me on a winding road? The past it shakes me. Here I am on my mom's front porch. She sings to me as my dad he grills of my life to come and all its thrills. I can still hear her voice once more. How is it that these scents they take me in a winding road? The past it shakes me and here I am in my childhood home. And I see the moment she sings to me as my dad is there and he always will be. And it's all the same as it was. How's it that these scents they take me down one road on the past that shakes me and here I am on mom's front porch. Sings to me and the daddy grill on the life to come and all its thrills. I can still hear her voice once more. As these perfume places, oh, these long forgotten faces, they come rushing into my mind. These perfume places, oh, these hidden lonely spaces, they're buried somewhere deep inside.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody. Good
morning.
I'm John Herron. I am a practitioner with the Center for Spiritual Living in Princeton. And I get the blessing of coming up here and sharing with this congregation, which is so wonderful. And so one of the ways that I've heard this principle expressed is that the world is a mirror and reflects back to us simply what we bring to it. And so I heard a story years ago. I was telling Reverend Frankie this story, and she thought this was a good one to share. 3 old guys. Every Sunday night, they decided to get away from their wives and their families, and they would go for a walk off into the woods around the village that they lived in. And one Sunday night, they are taking this walk, and they see up on a hill a man sitting all by himself. And the first one goes, "Look at that guy sitting on top of the hill. I bet you his wife threw him out of the house. And he's sitting there all by himself. That's why he's up there." And the second guy goes, "That's ridiculous. You gotta be nuts." That guy, I can tell. I can sort of see the look on his face. His dog is sick, and he's like really sad. He's really sad, and he just needed to sit by himself because he didn't know what else to do. And the third guy says, "You guys are nuts. That guy, he's a robber, and the cops are after him." And he's just up there because he knows the cops are going to find him and he doesn't know where else to go. And they start fighting with each other. You know, the first guy says, "You're nuts, what do you call?" And he pushes the first guy, and the first guy falls into the third guy, and the three of them are fighting with each other. And after fighting for a little bit, I mean, these are old friends, they've been friends for years, they decide, let's go up the hill and ask him. He can confirm. Yeah, he's going to confirm that his wife threw him out of the house. No, he's going to confirm that his dog is sick. No, he's going to... Anyway, they go up the hill, and the guy is sitting on the hill very quietly. And they approach him, and the first guy said, "Look, I'm sorry if we're disturbing you, but I bet your wife threw you out of the house, right?" The second guy, "No, I told you, it's his pet." And the third said, "No, he's a robber, the cops are after him." "So which one is it?" And the guy said, "Oh, I'm just sitting here. I had a free evening and I'm just sitting here." So isn't that what we all do, right? So the question is, if this is the truth for all of us, we judge ourselves, we are judged, we judge others, all that stuff, where do we go with this? And that's one of the things about this teaching. As we develop a different way of looking at the world and looking at ourselves, what reflects back to us is something different. That's the practice. That's what this teaching is about. And so let's do a simple meditation. This is from 365 Science of Mind, a book that I really love. So take a nice deep breath. Just be aware of what's going on in your body and in your mind. And if there's any tension or any tightness, let it flow out of you like water. And it just evaporates as it hits the ground. And remember what it's like to be in a very calm, peaceful, quiet place. There is an inexhaustible reservoir of life, of imagination, energy, and will flowing through me into action. Divine power exists everywhere and takes form for me through my ideas, my faith. Today and every day, I expect good. I anticipate meeting new friends. I joyously anticipate contacting new situations that will increase my livingness. My life is an adventure. I know that wonderful things are going to happen to me. I know that everything I do will turn into good for me and for others. Something within me today sings aloud as I marvel at the limitless opportunities for my self-expression. My real self is God, the eternal, perfect self, the one undivided self. There could not be a greater wholeness or a more complete oneness. It would be impossible for me to have any more faith than I now possess. I realize the perfect presence of God in me, around me, through me, and in the whole world. Just imagine taking this with you out of here into the world as we take our next step after this service. Imagine your life from this place. I realize the perfect presence of God in me, around me, and through me. So take a nice deep breath and open your eyes when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I think we could all see ourselves in those three guys, but also the guy sitting on the hill, right? So John is available to do our Treatment Express. Treatment Express is where John will kind of be here. You ask for a quick request of a spiritual mind treatment, our word for affirmative prayer, and he just does it. It's like a couple of minutes. If you need more, be sure to grab the flyer with the names of our practitioners. You can contact them and they're there to support you and to serve you. So now is our time for practicing gratitude by the idea of circulation, that as we give, we receive. Some of you give online, some of you give once a year, once a month, some of you are not able to give. All that is good. So if you would like to give today, the basket will come around. There's envelopes in here that you could fill out and pens. If you need to fill something out and it takes a while, just keep moving the basket. It will come back to you. And let's do this affirmation together. I want to just express my gratitude for this beautiful community that's been in this area for 70 years, for all its different iterations, for each of you that serve and show up, for each of you online that support us. Today there might be a little glitch in our recording. I'm not sure why. It's a Wi-Fi thing, but I will post the recording later on Facebook and on YouTube. But let's do this together. It's an affirmation. Repeat after me. Divine love consecrates my gift.
Divine love consecrates my gift.
It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless.
It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless.
It returns to me.
It returns to me.
Multiplied abundantly.
Multiplied abundantly.
As I share my good,
As I share my good,
I accept my greater good.
I accept my greater good.
And so with gratitude for Steve, for John, for Camille and Hannah, for Social Hour, for our readers and everybody here, let's take a moment to celebrate with a closing treatment that John will do for us.
And so bringing present our consciousness in this sacred space that we've created together today, I know that this word is the truth for all who have participated in this service or who will participate online, all who wish they were participating. I know that this universe is a universe of infinite living blessing, that everything in this universe is alive with the divine presence. And this divine presence is love, and it is peace, and it is joy, and it is present in everything at all times, and it is present in everyone here, and in every aspect of this service. And since that's so, I know that this infinite living blessing is alive in the heart and mind of everyone participating. And therefore, each person is now experiencing a greater uplift, a greater guidance, more love, more peace, greater joy in their lives. And each one is now knowing the truth of the divine presence in every aspect of their lives, in every aspect of the world. And I know that everyone is seeing beyond what appears to us and knowing the divine truth that is truly present, always, everywhere, and in everything. And knowing this to be so, what a great blessing this is. I accept this blessing. I release it to the law, knowing it is already so, and so it is.
And so it is.
figured I'd end with, this is just a love song. So love, one of the best ways to get to these places. But also I feel like it has a little bit of a summer feel. It's finally nice out. Well, this is called Iridescence, which is what I think it feels like with love, when you're in love. The corner of my eye, it's the sparks and lights, the glimmer so bright between awake and sleep. It's the gauzy sky I picture in my head, the marshmallows up high. It's the soft sense of iridescence, it's the trees and waves and aeroplanes, it's the cars and stars and distant stars, the so it's gone, I feel great, the weight of this place. It's gonna feel so great when I see your face. Well, it's emotional voltage. It's what I feel. It's the pull of the oceans. It's so, so real. It's the end of suffering. It's how I heal. It's the light in the darkness. It's so surreal. It's the soft sense of iridescence. The trees and waves and aeroplanes. It's the cars and stars. Cute in my pain. Now I feel like infinity when I